So Garrett, I think I met you for the first time the other day when we had coffee. Like I actually met you, and it was a great conversation. And we were sitting there talking over coffee, and I'm like, this is absolutely a conversation that we need to have on air.
Yeah,
And so you're Garret Barbush with Warfel Construction.
you got it.
Okay, beautiful. And what is your position there?
I have a real fancy title. It's called Director of People Engagement and Support.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
You get paid by the letter?
Yeah, exactly.
So that
yes.
makes sense. That makes sense. I love it. Yeah, titles are a funny thing. We try to be clear and cover a broad range of what we're doing, and I feel like in the trades and construction, we even go a little bit farther, because if you work in construction, your job is whatever is in front of you. It's everything. So
Yeah, somebody asked me, well, what do you do? And I said, that's a really, really difficult response to give in just a few short a few short sentences. But yeah, high level, I've been with the company only for about a year. And,
Okay.
and what's interesting is I'm not from the construction industry. I'm brand new to the industry, but love people, love serving people. I feel like that's what I'm on this earth to do, is to serve people and to help get the best out of people. And it just happened to be that was kind of Warfel's focus, and looking for somebody to come in and do that. And it just kind of, the stars aligned. And
yeah.
So I'm really, really grateful to be doing what I'm doing.
Warfel, so I'm big into brands and branding and communication. And I think that's something in our industry that, in general, in the trades, we suck at it. But Warfel, I have always loved their tagline, clients for life.
Yeah.
When you have a tagline that is really short and sweet, but yet it communicates so much. And I know a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And I think that's something that, is really important to recognize. I think that's why your position exists. And if I would have one suggestion for Warfel, it would maybe be, it should be like people for life, because what we're talking about is more than just clients.
Yeah.
Because you can't have clients for life without the people that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so, I love that tagline, because I think it's so intelligent. Kind of like, you ever notice the FedEx logo?
Yeah.
Has an arrow in it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that. If you look it up, you'll see it. You'll never be able to unsee it. That's like one of the most ingenious designs ever,
Yeah.
I think, because, they're always moving forward.
Absolutely.
And, when you have that in a name like Clients for Life, I think that's just really creative.
Yeah,
So.
I'm encouraged to hear you say that, because that was actually one of my, a couple weeks back, I was actually in a meeting with our leadership, and they asked basically like, hey, what are some observations you've seen in the first year of being here? And I said, one of my very first observation was, our people know our mission. And I said, we think that should be the norm. Like,
Yeah.
And it should be, really, but
Yeah.
it's really not, right? And I said, that came straight from the top down of our people know what the mission is. They know what it means. They understand the significance of it and how it's driving what we're doing every day. And our clients know what it is, right? And somebody like yourself knows what it is. So I appreciate you saying something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the hard part about things like that is, especially when you've been around a long time, I believe that your company that you're a part of has been around for over 100 years.
Yeah, about 115 years.
Okay, now he's showing off. You see how he threw that extra 15 on there? He wanted to make sure everybody knew.
Right, just making sure.
It's not 100 years, Josh. It's 115. It's like when I was like 12. I'm actually 12 and a half.
Yeah.
Don't mess that up. I'm almost 13. But, I think that's one of the things when companies are around so long. I think what people don't realize is, and this is just my opinion, but I actually think the older that your company is, the harder it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to, as you're growing, and you're either growing or you're dying. It's one or the other. And as you're growing, you're constantly having to learn and become a new company. I remember an old timer, I was once at a dinner, and I had started a company. I forget, we just had a handful of people at the time, and I sat down next to one of the largest electrical contractors in my area. And I was sitting next to him, and I said, so if you were going to tell me one thing, the poor guy was probably just wanting to enjoy dinner, and I'm there like picking his brain. He's like, who sat this kid beside me? And I said, if you were going to tell me one thing about growing your company to be where it is, what would that be? And he said, well, I had to learn how to run the company with 15 people. I had to learn how to run the company with 50 people. I had to learn how to run the company with 150 people. And it was like, and he said each time it was an entirely different organization.
Yeah, and your people feel that too, right? Like the company that has the 15 employees, if you're an employee that was one of those 15 and now you're one of 50,
yeah,
there's emotions involved in
oh
a
my
lot
goodness,
of that, right? So it's
yeah.
not the same company it was, and I think that's been a message that I've been trying to preach to our people is, hey, listen, we're growing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And growth brings a lot of incredible things, but growth brings challenges, and there's just no way that we can be the same company at 300 people that we could be at 150.
Yeah.
There's going to be the guardrails, the absolute staples that we don't want to see change, but there's going to be things operationally that have to change, right? And so people are slow to change, and you're messing with emotions and everything else.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. I sat down with a guy who was managing he was CEO. I don't know if I would say that, when it's this big, I don't know if you're managing it or if you're just hanging on. But he had 4,190 some employees.
Oh my goodness.
And I just looked at him and I'm like, how? And then just recently they had what they call, an employee day where they do like a culture building summit and that sort of thing. And it was like, imagine they literally shut down and brought all their people together from all across the country for like 2 days.
Wow.
And it's like, and it was amazing.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it was just unbelievable. But
That's awesome.
tell me a little bit about your origins. Like, where are you from? What was the story of it, short version?
Yeah.
How did Garret get to this role at Warfel Construction? And do you guys go by Warfel Construction or Warfel Construction Company?
Warfel Construction, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I would say, this is a tough one to do in just a minute or two, but,
Oh, you can have 5.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Started out, grew up here in Lancaster County, Manheim, Pennsylvania. Very proud of where I'm from. Had an incredible family. Had a blue-collar dad and mother. Grew up in a blue-collar home. Dad was a commercial plumber pipe fitter.
Come on.
And so really at an early age, just modeled for me, like, Dad was out of the house before I woke up.
Yeah.
Home at 4:30, 5 o'clock every night. Worked his tail off to support a family.
Yeah.
And we had a incredible mom that kind of held the fort down at home. 4 of us siblings, so very close family and very tight knit. But I was the youngest of 4 siblings, so I was always kind of looking up and trying to, I always joke like I was probably 7 years old, going on about 18. But grew up in Manheim here.
That sounds like my daughter.
Involved in a lot of different activities, sports, wrestling, golf were kind of the 2 that I focused on most, but did everything growing up. And then went away to college and studied business, thought that that's what I wanted to go do. And had an incredible 4 years doing that, learned a lot, and came out of school and got into agricultural lending fairly quickly. And thought that's where I was going to spend my career, and an opportunity popped up to actually lead a nonprofit ministry called Men of Iron. And that's where I spent a majority of my time, and it was an incredible experience. I'm very grateful for that opportunity because I kind of got to experience a little bit of that entrepreneurial, it was kind of a new startup. Didn't really know what we were doing, had to kind of figure it out. But at the core, we were mentoring men is what we set out to do. We were there to change a culture one man at a time. And
wow, you guys did go big or go home.
Go big or go home, right?
Man.
And so mentoring changed my life. I look back at certain situations or seasons of my life, and I can always point to another man that spoke something over me, right, that maybe I didn't see in myself. And so,
boy, I can agree with that.
I think a lot of us understand that, right? And so it just kind of naturally lined up like, hey, I'm pretty passionate about this. I'm going to go do this, and learned a ton in that 13 years there at the organization. And felt like it was time to kind of transition out of there, and actually got an opportunity to go into the insurance industry. Thought that was kind of where I was going to spend my time, and that's where I ran into Warfel. They were a client of mine, and it was interesting because as the insurance broker, you're not always in all the details or the day-to-day of a business, but you go in for meetings on a quarterly basis, right? And I remember I would go into Warfel's headquarters for meetings, and you have to kind of walk through the building to get to different conference rooms. And it was always just I don't know, an observation is the way that I kind of put it. But you'd walk through, and I'd be like, man, people are pretty jazzed up to work here. Like it it felt different. It was always just like a mental note I made, right? And so fortunate enough that, fairly good friends with Conlon Swope, the president. So he and I have had a great relationship for the last several years, and I kind of consider him to be one of the guys that's at my king's table. One of those guys that's
okay, so I got to stop you there.
Yeah.
Because you made a comment, and I think this is important to give context.
Yeah.
At your king's table.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That's a table, for me at least, of the men that, at the end of the day, if I had a round table of men that are going to keep me accountable, speak life into me, kick me in the butt when I need to be kicked in the butt, right? Care about my faith journey. I'm going to make sure that I'm a good husband, a good father, and call the best out in me, right?
Yeah.
That's Conlon's was one of those guys and continues to be one of those guys. And so,
wow, that's really cool.
Kind of got to see the inner workings of Warfel a little bit as the broker there. And next thing I knew, kind of had some conversations with Conlon around an initiative that they were looking to launch of bringing somebody on their team that was really there to keep a finger on the pulse of their people personally and professionally, and somebody that would just kind of be a champion and an advocate for their people and their culture. And I just remember saying something to him like, well, if you ever want to talk through that, let me know. I'd be willing to kind of hash that out with you.
Yeah.
And next thing I knew, we were drawing up the game plan to make that work. And I'm super grateful because I feel like, at 41, really figuring out who you are and what you're gifted to do and kind of stepping into that and freely and in an exciting way. But really just feel like I'm living out the gifts that God's given me to impact people.
That's pretty awesome. I think that, it's interesting. I can remember milestones in my life, like, when I turned 21, when I turned 30. And honestly, I think the 40s, I wish that I could have been 40 when I was 20, because it's like you're seasoned enough that you've learned, I love a good scotch.
Yeah.
And, they're not good until they're at least 12.
Yeah, exactly.
If they don't age right, it's like, okay, this is cheap whiskey.
Nobody likes cheap whiskey.
Yeah, nobody likes that. But it's like, that's kind of what your 40s, I think, is like. It's like, especially if you've had mentors, like you talk about mentorship, and that's something that I think that right away you and I identify with that. But I actually think it's important for us to acknowledge that that's rare.
Very. Unfortunately.
That is, yeah. And it's like I can remember being 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 25. And these men that were, like you used the word king's table, which I totally love and I'm going to steal. But they were at my king's table. And they would not be quiet in my life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they felt like they needed to tell me stuff to hear their own voice. It was like I remember one guy said to me, he goes, I want your success.
Yeah.
I want your success. And he would tell me things. And if I'm being really honest, a lot of the mentors in my life, they pissed me off.
They should.
And that's what I mean. It's like, but real relationship is when you're able to have hard conversations that make you angry and not walk away.
That's exactly right. And I honestly, I can think back to some very, very challenging seasons that you go through, and I think our flesh just kind of wants somebody to put their arm around us and be like, come on, let's go. You're good. But it's in those seasons, for me at least, where I've had men call certain things out that I didn't want to hear in the moment, right? And I think that it is such a rare thing, and it's something we talk about even a lot at Warfel is like, man, how do we build this culture where our people know they've got people here for them?
Yeah.
Accountability is a real thing. We talk about it. It's sexy. Everybody talks accountability. Everybody talks about mentorship.
Oh, it's easy to talk about.
But to actually be accountable, to actually hold somebody else accountable, that requires transparency. It requires vulnerability. It requires, and particularly in construction, which we don't want to go there. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like we don't want to think about that. We don't want to go there. But at the end of the day, man, if it weren't for mentors in my life calling me out and calling me up, I'm not sure I'd be where I'm at. But you mentioned something earlier about the age thing, and I look back at 20s and 30s, and it's interesting how things line up and how they work out, because everything I was doing from ag lending into Men of Iron into the insurance industry, like it all kind of I picked up things along the way that I'm now
yeah.
using,
Yeah.
and you don't know it at the time, but all of our experiences shape us into who we are today. And I'm just super grateful for the journey.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you don't give up, they shape you into something pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But the key is to not quit.
Yes.
And that's really difficult sometimes. And actually, I don't know how to weather some of the things that I've gone through in my life alone. And I think that's some of what we're talking about. I mean, if I don't interrupt us now, we'll just keep talking.
Yes.
I mean, this is great. Yeah. Like, I really appreciate this, because this is a conversation that needs to be had. And but let's break it up a little bit and just ask you a fun question here.
Yeah.
What's a tool or a piece of gear that Garret Barbush can't live without?
I don't leave home without a knife in my pocket. So
Good answer.
I always have a knife in my pocket. It's something that I just have found very useful. There might be weeks on end where I don't ever go in and grab it, but man, there's that one time in that Amazon box that's giving you a heck of a time, right? So I would say my knife is, there's other things I could probably talk about, but the knife is the one thing that I don't leave home without.
Well, and we like to say here that we're all about, honest conversation, which means we ask you things and we ask you to just be open with it. So I'm going to actually pull one out of here and just be like, what kind of knife?
The one I'm carrying today is really cheap. I think I got this from my NRA membership that they sent me, but I have a couple different ones. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it can do a little bit of a work and a little bit of a job of cutting something open and freeing something up. I'm game.
So one Christmas, the company that I was a part of bought everyone. I never had one before, and it's kind of like, to go back to the whiskey metaphor, when you move up from the bottom shelf stuff and you get closer to the top shelf stuff, it's way harder to go back to the bottom shelf.
You don't want to go back down there. No.
And so that's what happened with this. I'd never heard of Benchmade.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this company, they bought us all for Christmas. They were called Bug Out knives, made by Benchmade. It was the coolest knife I've ever owned in my life.
Never going back.
Well, it was like carbon fiber scales, It was like you forgot you even had it in your pocket, and it was, I wish that I carried a knife for combat or something cool, but it's the Amazon boxes.
Yeah.
I felt better about myself. My wife and I were watching Sean Ryan podcast, and he's a Navy SEAL, and he's talking about his EDC and pulls out this knife that he has, and it looks really BA. And he's like, I pretty much only open Amazon boxes with this. And I was like,
just be honest.
Our culture that we have come to. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
The one thing is a knife. I like that. Okay. Well, before we move on, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking this time here today to sit down and have this conversation.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thanks so much.
I said we like to have an honest conversation, and I think words are really important. I think the definitions and the meanings and knowing those things are essential to how we communicate. And I think communication is one of the biggest things that we mess up. And so when I say an honest conversation, and I think this is important to clarify, I'm talking about not transparency. I'm talking about honesty. And to be honest, and I learned this when I was pretty young in my marriage and relationship with my wife. I wanted to be honest with her, but I didn't tell her everything always.
Yeah.
And not like I was hiding anything from her. And that's what honesty is, when you're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
Listen, we can't actually be transparent with everybody. And I would even go as far as to say sometimes in leadership, we have a responsibility to not be.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you can be honest And it's like when you know you're hiding something. I remember my first business with my business partner. It's like we didn't like report to each other at the end of every day. This is what's going on. But when there was something that I knew in my gut that I was hiding it from him, it's like, all right, we got to have a conversation about this. Yeah. And that, I think, changes things. And so I'm not looking for you to be transparent with me, but I am looking for you to be honest, because that's what we want even for our listeners.
I'll do my very best.
So let's talk about, we talked about your origins. Let's talk about Warfel and what you're doing within the walls of Warfel Construction.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You know, there might be a lot of people that have heard this and maybe some that haven't, but before I even joined, I was at their annual business advisors meeting as their broker.
Yeah.
And our CEO and president at the time it was the bankers, it was the accountants, the attorneys around the table, the insurance guys, and they were giving an update on the 5-year strategic plan.
Yeah.
And we were, at the time, Warfel was kind of going into the 5th year of that strategic plan. And they were giving an update on how they were measuring up against things. And one of the things that they had, a big emphasis of that strategic plan was people and culture. And so they were kind of saying, hey, we've really doubled down on people and culture the last 4 years. And here's some of the things we're starting to see and starting to notice. And one of the things that they said was like retention. Like our retention is improving through this. And I don't even really, like, because this was pre-Garret being at Warfel, like I don't know what all those initiatives were. I just know that they were definitely doubling down. And I just remember like hearing this, and I remember there was a moment where they had both mentioned that, you know, they had spent their entire careers there, and for a number of years they really prided themselves on knowing all the employees, knowing everybody's name, knowing family members, right? And from the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of growth at Warfel.
Yeah.
And so with growth comes more people and more offices and more territory. And, and it really seemed to bother them that like, hey, we're getting to a point where it's really difficult to know everybody, to know what's going on in their lives. And so that was kind of what spearheaded a conversation between Conlon and I, which was, hey, we feel like we got to bring somebody on and kind of double down on what we've just doubled down on. And it was really to bring somebody on that was going to be kind of in the trenches with the people and understand what was going on in their lives, not just professionally. We obviously care about that, but also personally. And when you look at the statistics in the construction industry, addiction, suicide, the mental health thing's a real thing. It's a high, and that's the thing I've learned the most, I think, in a year. It's like when I was told coming in, like, hey, this is a high pressure industry. I get it now. Like, I totally understand when I'm out in a job trailer and I see everything that's going on. You see 100 and some people on a job site that we're responsible for, and you're thinking safety and you're thinking budgets and deadlines and everything else. Like I see. So high level, when it talks about engagement and support, I'm there to figure out how do we keep our people engaged in the culture? How do we support them along the way? And the way that we look at support is not just like, well, we want to support them so we're profitable. Okay, that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
But we look at our employees holistically. And so we care about what's going on financially. We care about what's going on emotionally. We care about what's going on relationally in their lives, right? Because we know that if one of our guys in the field is going through marriage problems, he's bringing that to the job site every single day, right? And that's ultimately going to impact our culture as a company. So we really we're really pushing this initiative right now of the holistic, helping people understand, like, why are you coming to work? Are you just coming for a paycheck? And we want to help people understand their purpose. We want to help people understand their why, and let that be the driving force that's getting them out of bed in the morning excited. Like, Warfel is just the place where you're going to come work and hopefully make a difference and make an impact. But like, why are you showing up? You know, are you excited about that? And so for me personally, it looks a little different every day. Some days I'm out on job sites simply just with no agenda, checking in with our supers, our assistants, our foremans, our carpenters, our laborers, walking a job site. How you guys doing? Anything I need to be aware of, right? And then there's some higher level strategic things that I'm working on for the company as well, for employee engagement, how we're involved in the community, right? Our wellness initiative, how we're taking care of our people, what we're investing in, how we want to take care of them. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, but get around to all of our offices at least once a month, and just
How many offices do you have, just for context?
yeah, we have 4 offices. We've got our headquarters in East Petersburg, Pennsylvania. We've got a smaller office up in State College. We've got an office in Paoli. That's called our Greater Philly office.
yeah.
And then we have an office down in Winchester, Virginia as well. And so our job sites, for the most part, are, pretty spread out within the Mid-Atlantic, but we've even got some things that are happening outside the Mid-Atlantic at the same time. So we're growing very quickly. And, with that growth, there's things culturally that, if you're not intentional, can kind of fall between the cracks. And so that's what we're trying to identify right now, is saying, hey, what do we want to be those staples for Warfel, and where can our Winchester office, for example, like, where can they have a little flexibility to kind of have their own identity, right?
Yeah.
And so those are things at a higher level what I'm doing, but it's a daily thing to be sending text messages to our guys in the field. Hey, just thinking about you, anything I can do for you, stopping out, making sure they know that we care, and that's coming from the top down. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be working for an organization that cares so much about the people that they've created a position like this. So it's pretty fun.
Tell me a little bit about, and we talked about all the noble aspects of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you said all the right things.
Yeah.
Everybody says all the right things when they're on air. What is the why for the leadership at Warfel of why are they doing this? What is the why? Like, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm not just saying this to say it, I can say this confidently because I've heard it, in meetings with them, and at their core, man, they care deeply about our people. And it's not just so that they're performing at a high level on the job sites, but we care about the person, like, down to their soul, down to their core, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it's about. And so, we talked earlier about the King's Table, and it's not a Warfel thing. I mean, I think this is kind of an industry thing where it's just,
Well, it sounds a lot like you're going back to King Arthur and you're talking about the round table there. So yeah.
but it's one of those things where we want every guy, every woman, every man to have a group of people around them that are calling them up and calling them out. Like, that's at the core of why they're doing this, and why there's been this focus and this initiative, is to make sure that, like, man, we just have healthy people that have the right people around them that are coming to work excited every day, instead of just like, oh, I got to get up and go to work today, right? So that's really what we're trying to accomplish, and it's like punching a giant in the mouth. It's a big task to take on and a big project to take on, but the industry kind of has some stigmas out there with it, and I wasn't quite sure what was truth and what wasn't until I got in here. So
when you say it has some stigmas, elaborate.
yeah, I mean, I think, the stigma of, hey, there's a lot of loners, right, in the industry.
Yeah.
Shut
up and do the work.
Yeah, shut up and do the work. I think that's been the case for a while, but I will say this, like, this is just my opinion, just my experience, but we've got a new generation coming into the workforce right now that I don't think is that. I think this new generation
I don't know
is
that I
different.
think that mindset is a healthy one.
No.
I don't know, just because that's the way we've always done it. I don't know that's the way we should do it.
No, it's not at all. And I think I'm seeing this young talent. They're coming into these superintendent positions or young foremen, right? And they want to do things as a team. They want to work with the project team. They want to work with the PM. They understand that it's not just my opinion that's going to get this thing done, man. I need these people around me, right? And so when you're working with people like that day in and day out, you're bonding, man. You're forming those relationships that are going to go on outside of the job site. And I love hearing from our guys. I just was talking to a couple guys yesterday that, they're calling each other on the way to a job site, on the way home from a job site, and they're on different job sites, but it's because they have these relationships that have been forged, right? And they understand. And so sometimes it's just a call and going to go nuts and vent with you for a little bit because I know you're my brother and you're going to hear me out. And then other times that there might be genuine questions like, hey, I got this going on. Like, that's the kind of culture we're trying to build.
Yeah. I think that's really cool because it sounds like that your leaders are wanting to provide their team with that King's Table mentality.
Yes.
Where they're saying, all right, Garret, he's at your table. Garret is at your table. Like, when you talk about you're visiting the different job sites, and we all know the judgments that we make, like, oh, you're coming out to my job site to talk to me. Your title is people person. Like, I'm not making fun of you.
No,
I am
that's a
little
real
bit.
thing.
But it's like, the reality is that they're paying you to do that because they see that has value.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that you have to be pretty blind not to know that has value. And you also have to look at the fact that all of us need to look at it in the industry. And I think it's more than the industry. I think it's culture, because there's something that has happened with the way that we relate with one another. Because you talk about loners, and I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, but you're not meant to do it alone. That does not work. And honestly, when we do that, it's because we don't want to grow. We don't want to experience things. We want to do it our way, and that's the way that it's going to be. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that, really get energized by being around other people, and then there's people that don't.
Yeah.
But so, like, my wife is an introvert, and I am the opposite of that.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking. It's shocking. But she doesn't not want connection.
Right.
She doesn't not want relationships with people. And matter of fact, she would even say, through many hard conversations, that when she gets away from people to that extent, it is unhealthy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I actually think that there has been a war on society and culture that we didn't even know about.
No. Yeah.
Like, you've heard the phrase, how do you boil a frog? You put them in a pot of water and you turn it up really slow, and they never will jump out. Well, listen, we're being cooked alive.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And this is the thing that's cooking us.
Yes, it is.
If you're listening right now, I'm holding up my smartphone, and here is why. When I started in the trade, I would fax bid requests to people, which meant that I was only talking with 1 or 2 or 3 vendors. And the fax didn't communicate, so we would always have a phone call. We now have email, we have texting, we have social media, we have all these things. I can remember I was in a job meeting a few years ago, sitting there as a consultant, and I'm sitting in the job trailer, and when I left, I was like, I can remember when we'd be waiting for the meeting to start, and we're all talking about, what were you doing this week? Like, relating specialty contractors, trade partners, GCs, all of these people were having these conversations. And I'm going to tell you, it was dead quiet.
Yeah.
It was dead quiet, and everybody's eyes were fixated on their phones.
Yep.
And I am not saying, listen, this is a tool, and it has changed our world for the better, but also it's dangerous.
It's a very dangerous thing. It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword. And I believe that the only way to overcome that is to be intentional.
Yeah.
And that's some of what you're talking about here that you guys are doing. And I love it because Warfel, they're in this 5-year plan, and now they're bringing you into this plan. And it's like they've been investing in culture. They've been investing in their company. And you need to do that before you can actually step outside and make a difference in the industry.
Yeah.
But one of the things that struck me when we had our conversation was you were talking about the industry, not just Warfel.
Right.
And I think that that's something that's significant because we can't do this alone. Like, your organization and your company can't have all the work that is out there. And the reality is you don't want it all.
No.
And there is enough, like, I always get frustrated with the scarcity mindset because the reality is that mindset is what brings scarcity.
Yes.
And there is enough for everyone. And personally, the reason that I say that is I believe that everything was designed and divinely so that there is enough for everyone, and we need to go after it with a learn and grow mindset. And when you do that, it provides opportunity, it provides growth, it provides those things. And so I say all of this, and I'm on this rant right now, just to say, talk to me about what you see. You've been in the industry for 1 year, or a little more than that, and you've been hired to investigate, to uncover, and to look at things. And I remember when we talked, you said they gave you like a runway of half a year to be like, get out there and figure this stuff out. And you started to talk with me the other day about the things that you see. Let's talk about the industry, not just Warfel. What do you see?
Yeah, I think, as an industry overall, you know, one of the first things I picked up on was the mentality of like field and office, right?
This is right where I wanted you to go.
And it kind of struck me like growing up in a home that dad was blue collar, you know, field guy. Like I wasn't ignorant to it. But until I got into the industry and started to kind of get exposed to things, right out of the gate, you know, I'll never forget this, and this is going to give some context where I'm going, but I went to one of our leadership team members and I said, hey, you're fairly new as well. Like, what recommendations do you have for me here in my first 6? He's just, don't say a word. Like, just shut up for like 6 months. And it was one of the best pieces of advice that he could have given me, right? Because he was basically saying, like, just sit back and watch. Yeah. And I was watching, right? I'm watching, and I'm like, my initial reaction was like, well, I don't really think there needs to be a field versus office mentality, or there needs to be a field and project management mentality. Why does this exist? Have we just kind of accepted it? Like, have we just accepted the fact that it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And some of it's, all right, mentality, some of it's personality, some of it's experiences. Like, some people have really been burnt, right?
Yeah.
And so they carry that with them, right?
Yeah. Trauma is real.
Trauma is a real thing. And in my mind, I'm looking at it, and not that I'm a real smart guy by any means, but I'm like, why can't we just talk about this? Like, let's just talk about it. Get it out on the table. Let's try to help people heal. Let's try to help people see the other side of this, right? And that was one of the first observations I had, was like, man, I don't think it needs to be this way. And again, I didn't have all the answers right away on how we could do that and how we can kind of break those walls down. But initially it was just like, man, I think if we could just be humans, and I could actually care about the guy sitting across the table from me. I'm naturally kind of bent that way, but I'm also know that not everybody's bent that way, right? Yeah. And so realizing that, man, there's a lot of people in the industry that, for whatever reason, because of a job that went on 10 years ago and how things went down in that job, they're still carrying that stuff with them. Yeah. And I don't think the industry does a great job at trying to help people, like, let go of some of that. And I mean, that takes like some serious, honest conversation and some intentional efforts to say, hey, that's gone. We're done with that. What did we learn from that? Now, how do we get better and how do we move forward? Not just as the GC or not just as the trade partner, but why can't we get everybody around the table and talk through this? Yeah. How do we make sure that that doesn't happen again, right? Yeah. And so I think what's happening, Josh, is a lot of times it's leadership, and I'll use GCs and trade partners as the example. Like, let's just assume for a minute there's an issue between a GC and a trade partner, and it gets so bad that it gets to the top, right? Yeah. And the CEO and the president of the GC and the president of or the owner of the trade partner company, they come together, hey, we're not real happy. We're going to talk this out, right? More than likely, I'm finding, at least, that in most cases that starts to work out because there's values alignment in most cases. There's a trust there at the top. But what we're missing sometimes in the industry is we haven't taken the time to have that same conversation with the project teams from the GC and the project team from the trade partner, because they're the ones that are out in that job every single day. Right. And they're the ones with the wounds. They're the ones that we honestly need to have that sit down with. Right. And so I don't know, the field office thing, GC trade partners, the stigma there is another one I picked up on pretty quickly. And again, I think a lot of it just comes down to being able to have some conversations. Trying to think if there would be anything else that comes up, but those two in particular.
I think the conversations are really key. And I love how you talk about field versus office, you keep using the term trade partner, and this is one thing. What I think your lack of, forgive me for saying it this way, but your lack of experience in the industry. Yeah. I've been in this industry since I was 17. Yeah, I think that's the legal age that I can say I was involved in this industry. I was involved much earlier than that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, you won't bring those up. Yep.
But the term that I've always heard is subcontractor, and you say trade partner, and of course you're covering vendors and subcontractors, and I always would say I've always worked as a what I would call a specialty contractor, meaning, you know, I've never worked for a GC, a general contractor. And I think that I love the fact that you don't say it that way because you don't carry that with you.
Right.
And those of us, that's where I think it's so important to recognize the new generation, the new workers, and in inviting different aspects and perspectives. Like, I think that we have this interesting thing where we only see in part. Like, I literally can see you because I'm looking at you. I can't see to my right or to my left because I'm not looking there. If you're watching us on camera right now, you don't know what's behind the camera. There's like 3,000 people back there watching this podcast. No, I'm kidding. But my point is, we only see what's in our vision, our field of view. And when we bring in other perspectives, that's when we get a more complete picture.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's like we need a complete picture for success. And whether it is a client for life or it is a trade partner, and honestly, you want both of those to be for life.
Absolutely.
You know, when you are, and if I can just kind of take over for a second and say, the construction industry, the trades industry, every aspect of blue collar is one of the most high pressure jobs in the world. And here's why. Anybody who's been a part of bringing a building out of the ground, it is like birthing a child that wants to murder you. That is what it is like. And that's what I want to happen. The amount of ways that you can lose money and lose your business and be unsuccessful, they are never ending.
It's a real thing.
I remember I took a project management class at an organization called ABC, great organization. And when I took that class, someone else was in that class in a manufacturing facility. And listen, I love you, manufacturing people. I love you. We love to work with you. But project management in a warehouse that is climate controlled and not affected by the weather is not the same as project management in the trades.
Yeah.
Like you have mud to deal with, you have rain, you have snow. You and I were talking the other day, like how do you do the job when it snows all over it? Like, and clients today, they still want their building and it needs to be done on time. And so it's always about, and this is one of the things that I love about the industry. I love having to figure it out. But we must know that pressure that's there, and, you know, we might have people that are managing a multi-million-dollar project, and they don't know what might go wrong, and they have that pressure. They take it home every night.
Yeah. So
they take it home every night.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that's a real thing where, man, my empathy has grown significantly in a year coming into this industry and getting out. I was completely ignorant to it, right, coming in, until you get out and you actually see what our people are dealing with on a day in and day out basis and the pressures there. I mean, one wrong decision could be delay a project by months and hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Yeah. And like, that's what's...
and that's cheap.
Yeah, you're darn right. But I think that's the other thing that makes it where we need to have more conversation around that. And this is the other thing I've learned is like, okay, well, what a superintendent is accountable to with a GC, and how his performance is valued, right, or evaluated, I should say. And then you look at how a project manager, what he's accountable to, or he or she is accountable to, and what they're accountable, or all that goes into play. But we're looking at what's right in front of us, like you said.
Yeah.
We're focused on what am I accountable to, what am I tasked to do, and I think the very best individuals in the industry have that ability to kind of go like this every now and then, look to their left and right, and understand that, okay, I understand why this person is acting this way because this is what they got to get done.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we just get so locked into what I'm tasked to do, and that's where things go sideways, right? And so, again, it's about having awareness, having conversation, but the pressure thing is so real, and I think the teams that understand that and that can talk through it, one of the things we do to help that, and I'm not saying we've got it nailed down 100%, but right before every project, we sit down with that project team and we go over a pro scan review, which is basically personality assessments. And it shows like, hey, this person, here's your natural personality. Here's what's going to happen to that personality when you're under stress, right?
Yeah.
Right. So helping our people understand when, hey, Joe is naturally an extrovert. When you start to notice that he's going in a little bit, well, now you know that he's under stress, he's under the heat, he's under the gun. That's my job and my responsibility now as a team member to go and say, hey, I'm seeing this, I'm observing this. What can I do to support you? Like, again, it's about having the conversations and awareness.
You talk about having the conversations, and I think it's really important. General contractors are easy targets. I can't think of how many jobs I've been on where everybody knows who the GC is, but nobody knows who all the trade partners are. And some guys get pissed and frustrated about that, and some guys are like, hey, that's all right with me. Yeah. But like, I don't think it's something that we can do. I don't think that GCs can fix it. I don't think that trade partners and specialty contractors can fix it. I think it has to be, we can fix it.
Yeah.
And I think the only way, you talk about communication, and I love when I hear you say about personality tests. Listen, that sounds like so frou-frou and fluffy, especially if you're a tradesperson, but it is essential. Yeah. One of the things that absolutely changed my career was when I took a Clifton Strengths test, and I learned how I function. Yeah. And so I was managing a company at the time, and I'm like, everybody's taking this test in our company. And it was the best. It was a lot of money, but it was the best money that I spent, because I'm like, oh, this is why you do that. Oh, this is why you do that. Right. And I think that's the thing that we have to really look at. It's like, I talked with you earlier about this, in relating with a company that I was working with, and they received an email. And let me be really clear about what I think about email. It is a wonderful tool, but it is an easy CYA tool. Yeah, and it is email. I really believe is evil if you don't communicate tone, and the only way to communicate tone is not in an electronic email. It is by picking up the phone. Amen. Literally was in this situation here the other day where a contractor got an email, and the way that the email was written, I don't know how you could read it any other way, except for, I will make this point. This is an important thing for you to understand. When you read an email, you're reading it from your perspective. Yeah. So if you're already on guard, you're going to see things in that email that maybe aren't there. Yeah. This is why I say they're evil, because you can't read tone. You can't read those things. And when I'm talking with you right now, I can talk with inflection and be like, Garret, I'm just really, this is a good conversation. And I want success on the project when, and I can also change that and be like, you know what, Garret? I really don't appreciate what this is doing. And it's like that tone communicates something. Amen. In an email, you don't get that tone. And so if you're getting an email being like, hey, this needs to be done, it's not done yet. And if you're like me, tradespeople, we have a problem with this. I suck at email. I'm like the guy typing like chicken feet, And so it's like I don't process through writing. And so we're put in this position where our companies want us to email because of CYA. Yep. And that means cover your ass for those of you who aren't understanding. They want us to email because then we have a trail. And I think that's fine. But it's like we got to make sure that we communicate tone. Yeah. We got to make sure that, and the only way to do that is through picking up the phone and having a conversation, usually before you send the email. And for those of you who are in the field, because that's where I come from, I'll tell you a little trick. You call someone up, you have a phone conversation with it, and every company has a different view on this. But unfortunately, I've been in the courtroom. I've had to protect my ass. I've had to, deal with liability. Is all you need to do is after you have that phone call is, hey, here's an email per our phone conversation. These are the things, as opposed to when you're like me, just being like, I'm going to use these 3 words, yep, and I'm not going to communicate tone. And it's like, if you talk to someone like that, you would be a jerk. Yeah. It's like, do this, Garret, now. Yeah.
Well, and it's something that we focus on a lot with even our project management staff, and because of learning and development's a big thing at what we're doing with Warfel now. We actually have somebody on our team that's overseeing learning and development in house, and one of the things we do is a program called Leveling Up, which is trying to get our project managers, right, taking them from hey, maybe a new project manager to making them a better project manager, and knowing, hey, when do I need to pick up the phone and make that phone call? And, always, I'm going to follow that up with an email. But I think you make a good point. It's like we have a tendency just to be like, okay, this issue happened. Well, I need to let that trade partner know, boom, 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 boom. And then it's received. And like you said, though, that perception becomes reality, right?
Yeah.
My intent, right, may have not been anything harmful at all, but the impact.
I would say usually your intent isn't.
No, but the impact of it, right,
Yeah.
is the actual result. And so it takes a lot of work to clean up impact. So I think if we can manage that up front, right? And again, it starts with a lot of those. If here's my experience is if that email is being sent, it's probably because a conversation is wanting to be avoided.
Oh, come on. That is absolutely right.
So I think we've just got to do a better job at, just being real with each other, having that honest conversation, since we've been focusing on that and saying, hey, here's the issue that came up. Here's how I'd like to resolve it. Want to bring you in on this. What are your thoughts? Can we chat through this? And then, hey, now I'll send an email after we chat through it, right? So there's an art to that. There's an art to that, and it takes more time. It's not something I just check off the list, right? It actually, what was maybe a 5-minute email could turn into a 45-minute phone call, right? And so I'm empathetic on both sides of that, but you're dead on. It's about having some emotional awareness, some social awareness, and thinking through the impact rather than the intent.
I love that. And I even love the way that you articulated it. And I think when you talk about, that could be a 45-minute conversation. This is the difference between, I might make some people mad, but I've been studying a lot lately, culture and business and how things have changed. And when I first started in business, and if you went to school for business, you've heard of Jack Welch.
Oh, yeah. He was okay.
Wrote a lot of books and everything like that. But he changed something in the industry that never had happened before. And where he started communicating value more to shareholders than to companies. And he was one of the first people to be like, well, let's lay off these people. Like, that didn't happen before. Before that happened at GE, that hadn't happened. And so it was like, and I think it was GE that it was the first time that they had ever laid off, and that was about meeting shareholders' demands. And listen, sometimes that has to happen. But it's like, if that's your focus in that moment, that's what I call, you're looking for financial goals by the quarter.
Yeah.
I met with a company in Indianapolis, and I sat down with them, and they're also around 100 years. They are an insanely large organization. They're doing tons of things, and one of the things that they said was, we don't think by the quarter, we think by the generation.
That's good.
And they were like, they're like, we want to be thinking about 10, 20, 30 years, and the decisions that we make now. And so just to give some perspective on their size and where they are now after almost 100 years, they're like, well, so we wanted to start a company that wanted to do this. So we just put $500 million over here in a bucket. And we're like, let's start this company that does this culture thing that you're talking about. And let's be like, all right, let's help start up this company. And they basically created their own startup organization. And it's like, this is why I say this. Generational thinking versus quarterly thinking makes it that you can have $500 million to put in a bucket. Doesn't affect your business, and you're able to change an industry and a culture.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. And that's what we want to go after. That's clients for life, partners for life, and it's about having those conversations. And this is the point that I was trying to make. Yeah, it might be a 45-minute phone call the first time.
Right.
But as you build that relationship with that trade partner, you really want to work towards using the same trade partners and continuing to relate with them. Because if you think that you're going to have partners and you're going to build things and never have problems, then you are lying to yourself, and you are going to be rudely awakened.
I mean, everything is built on trust. Without trust,
absolutely.
And I think there again, there would be something that, going back to the whole, like, well, maybe what have I observed about the industry, not necessarily a Warfel thing, but just the industry
Yeah.
as a whole, is like we've forgotten the significance of trust. And I think that's why Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is so
Great book.
absolutely critical for every business leader to read,
Yeah.
because the foundation of everything is trust.
I agree.
And I look at the relationships I have in my life, and there's trust, right? Well, that doesn't happen by accident. That's an intentional effort to say,
Yeah.
well, what do I have to do to build trust? What do I have to do? Well, I actually have to give a crap. Like I gotta care about somebody, right? I gotta care about their company, and I gotta care about their success. I gotta care about their profitability. And if I do that, that person and their company will run through a wall for us when we have to make that, man, I need this done. Can you get this done for me? Like, I know this is last minute. I know this is out of character. Man, when trust is built, there's going to be no questions.
Yeah.
There's going to be no questions. Why? Because trust has been built. And instead, I think the egos get in the way a lot in this industry. And it's just like, well, do it because I said so. Well, that's not thinking generationally.
Do it because I said so.
Like that's not thinking generationally. That's thinking very short term. It's nearsighted. It doesn't really change the game. It's only making things more difficult in the long run.
Well, and it doesn't invite that individual or that team member. Well, one, you're not looking at them as a team member when you say do it because I said so.
Right.
And it doesn't invite collaboration.
Right.
Listen, if you're the leader of a team, the final say is with you. But again, if it's do it because I said so,
Right.
you're missing out on so much potential, so much opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. I think that, you talk about trust, and really, trust is the only way to build generational wealth.
100%.
It is the only way to do it, because so we work in the construction industry. A few years ago, I was in a negotiation and going through some contracts in buying a company, and outside of our industry. And so I'm going through the contract, and I have only read construction-related contracts, so I had redlined so many different things. And we'll say it was more in the tech industry. And so they came back to me, and they're like, hey, dude, we're like, what's going on? That's a lot of red, man. Because I'm so used to that.
Got wounds.
That war. And he goes, we don't care. We'll sign all that stuff, but what's going on? And then I said what industry I was in.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh.
Checks out.
Yeah, we deal with that a lot. And the reason that I say that, you talk about building trust. It's like, well, when there's trust and you have that emergency that you need done, it's not like, because this is what you don't want. You don't want to call that partner and be like, hey, I need this to happen tomorrow. It's going to cost us this much money. And they're like, hey, I got you. If there's no trust there, and it's like, here's a change order for an exorbitant amount of money to make sure that I'm covered, sign it, get it back to me. And the reality is that level of bureaucracy, we can't get things done fast. Now, you got to keep that trust by doing what you say you're going to do. Wow, isn't that funny? Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, this, it comes a little bit with, we're talking about the generational thing, and I think that's the other thing with, the industry is there's no, it's not a hidden fact, right, that we're struggling to get this next generation to come into the trades.
Yeah.
So I think I saw it on your website, right? Like for every 5 in the electrical side, there's only one that's leaving, only one's coming in, or something like that, right?
Oh, that's for the whole industry.
It's for the whole industry, okay.
The whole industry, yeah.
So that's a real thing. And so when we're looking at trust, let's talk about trust for a minute, right? We're trying to preach to our young people right now, right? And it's like, hey, there are like these 10 things that you can do that absolutely require no talent, like showing up on time. In fact,
well, let's be really clear. They require hard work, which is a talent that I value tremendously.
right. But at the end of the day, somebody can come in as a laborer, under a GC, right? And they don't need to have a lot of experience or a lot of, quote unquote talent. But man, if they're showing up early, they're willing to stay late, they're willing to come in on a weekend, they have a good attitude.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
They are giving good effort. Like,
yeah,
I can almost guarantee that young person, they're going to have a superintendent that comes in to put an arm around them and say, hey, I can work with this. right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing with, you know, the generational gap in the construction industry is just trying to tell these young people and encourage our young people, like, man, if you can just model these simple things, and a lot of it is, just some hard work, right? Like, you can you can have a bright future in this industry, a very, very bright future. And I'm finding that those guys that are more experienced, the tenured guys in the industry, like, okay, the stigma is that some of them are kind of rough and tough, but a lot of them actually do have a heart, and they do care about these young guys, as long as they are not showing up late every day, as long as they're not giving attitude on the job site. And so I think that's the other thing that we have a responsibility in this industry, is to teach these young people, like, hey, I don't need you to be the best carpenter right now. I just need you to have a really good attitude, really good effort, show up early, stay late, be willing to put the extra time in, be teachable, learn how to take some criticism without getting your feelings hurt, right?
Come on.
Sit down, come into the trailer and have a conversation at lunch instead of going to your car and scrolling your phone. Like, those things go such a long way in the industry. I think those are the things that are going to change the industry as a whole moving forward. That I just don't think we're talking about enough.
I agree 100%.
I don't think we're talking about it.
I think that attitude and effort are the greatest career builders. If you have a good attitude and you apply the effort, in our industry, there is nowhere you can't go. I know many a CEO that started with a shovel in the dirt. You know, and it's like, but they had the attitude and the effort that they put in. And the other thing that you talk about is also, you know, don't get your feelings hurt. I was just reading something the other day about getting offended. And I actually think that offense is one of those things related to an email. So when I was in the meeting earlier today and everybody was whining about the email that they had gotten, I said, well, where do you think that person was coming from? Like, what pressure are they under? And because it can be like, well, you sent this email and I'm all offended now. Let's be really clear about what being offended is. It is choosing a quiet death. That is what being offended is. Because you're choosing to believe something that you have no idea if it's true. And even if it is, you have the power to change it by picking up the phone and having a conversation. I cannot tell you how many times in my life I have made tens of thousands of dollars because I picked up the phone. And it's like, and then the times that I didn't, I lost tens of thousands of dollars because I didn't.
Well, and it's interesting too, because I find that this isn't just a construction, it's not just a work thing. Like, this is a life thing.
It is.
Just the same rule applies to my marriage. I can avoid the hard conversations with my wife. It's pretty easy to do that. Right? We were just talking about this last night. She said something to me last week and kind of stung a little bit. And what did I do? I withdrew. I withdrew because I didn't want to confront the situation. I chose to be hurt. I chose. Right?
I only am saying because I've been there.
Right? But I think it's very important to understand that this is like a human life thing. This is not just an industry. This is not just a construction. This isn't just a man thing. Like this is life in general. I think if we can just have the boldness and the courage to step in and have the conversations, man, our culture would be so better off.
I agree.
Better off. So.
Well, and I think that in the trades, we are the ones that can bring that change. You know, I mean, it's about building culture, and we build things every day, and so it's hard work. I mean, it is hard work. Listen, but there is nothing out there that is worth having or experiencing that is not hard. It's just that's the truth. I said to my son the other day, we were talking, and I made a comment to him, and I really liked it. So I was like, wow, that actually makes sense. You ever say things and you're like, wow, where did I hear that? And the comment was, success doesn't teach you anything. And he looked at me and he goes, Dad, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, you know, when I've experienced great success, is all that did was prepared me not to be looking at the things that I needed to look at. You know, anybody who's been in business or managed a project, cash, profits, covers a multitude of sins. When do you look at making sure that you're being efficient? When it's all rolling? No, you don't. You look at it when you're like, how do I stretch this farther? You know? And it's like that's really important to recognize that when we are experiencing success, we should be looking for things that we're not paying attention to. And when we're not experiencing success and we're experiencing that hardship, this is important. We don't quit. We take time to look at it, make the changes, and then face it. Face it and go after it. Have the courage to face the hard things, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a conversation, whatever that might be, have the courage to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think I've never really seen it go horribly for somebody that just has the gift set and the willingness just to make a decision. Yeah. It might be the wrong decision, and that's okay. Like, at least I've made a decision, and I've got now more information to make a better decision next time.
100%.
Right? Like, so I look at it too. We were talking about hard things, and you know, my faith is pretty important to me, and I share this with my kids all the time. It's like, I've never read one account in the Bible, for example, where God calls a man or a woman, for that matter, to something big, to do something big, right? And it's easy. And so if you find an account anywhere in the Bible where it's easy for somebody, let me know, because I haven't found one yet. But most times it's like discouragement, doubt, fear. I'm not qualified. I can't do this, right? Opposition. And I'm like, man, but if you look at that as a whole, it's like nothing good is going to come easy, man. Like, make the hard decisions and change your mindset of, this isn't hard, but rather this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, right? Yeah. So again, little tidbit there.
Well, I mean, I could keep talking to you like it feels like 5 minutes, but it's been more than that. And I know, I think we said this in the beginning. I know you have a hard stop because you're important. But before we get there, what is a mistake that Garret has made in life or in work that you would be willing to share with us that our listeners might be able to learn from and gain value from?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think for a number of years, for a long time, more than I like to admit, but I tried to be somebody that I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tried to find that in a title. I tried to find that in position. I tried to find that in all the things that the world wants us to find it in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't truly until the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years that I've wrestled through that and really started to understand, well, what is my purpose? Like, how has God wired me differently than others?
Yeah.
And I just need to step into that boldly and confidently. And I think I say 4 or 5 years, like, I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah,
like, it's not something I've just arrived at, but I think, you know, for the first time, I look at this role that I'm at with Warfel, and I'm in my gift set, right?
Yeah, come on.
And I'm not at the top of the org chart. Like, you know, I'm not the key decision maker. But, man, I tell you what, I wake up with a lot of excitement every day because I'm living in this lane that God's designed for me to live in. And so I would say the lesson I've learned is, man, like, play to your strengths. Play to your strengths. I tried to play outside of those for a long time, and you're wrestling. It's this constant wrestling match with yourself of, like, fulfillment and purpose and, you know, contentment, right? So for me, the way that I kind of combated that is I looked at my own life and I said, okay, well, how do I define success?
Come on,
like,
this is good.
How do I define success? Because success for me is different than success is for Joshua, right? Like,
absolutely,
that's just the bottom line. So I looked at it and I realized I laid out like 5 or 6 priorities that I said, man, when these things are rocking and rolling in my life, I feel successful. I feel content. I feel happy. I feel at peace. And then I realized I was actually spending so much of my time outside of those priorities. And that's like, when you have that, like, that moment of realization, you're like, well, no wonder I've been so miserable.
Yeah.
But even after I've identified it, even after I've written it down, even after I've spoken it out loud and told the King's Table about this, I'm still going back monthly to my King's Table and saying, I know, guys, I keep bringing this up, but I'm still struggling to live within these these boundaries, right? So I think identifying success, knowing your strengths, I mean, I wasted a lot of time. A lot of time, and it only brings heartache and discontentment because you're trying to be somebody that you're just not meant to be.
Well, I think one of the coolest things when you say about wasting time like that is what we believe. And, if you've listened to this podcast, you know that my faith plays a huge part, and we believe the same thing. I believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven, and I believe that our job and our life is to impact people for the glory of God,
Amen.
that they might know that.
Amen.
And so, since I believe that, I can make this statement to you. We often are worried about wasting time, and I missed it. Except God lives outside of time, and it is nothing for him. There have been so many things where I'm like, I spent so much time working on this, and it's like the word says that a diligent man will prosper. And that means that, and you talk about the stories in the Bible, how many times was there a story where it's like, well, I want you to go do this, and that makes absolutely no sense. And the Lord is over here, and he's doing it.
Yeah.
Because you want to talk about supreme efficiency, you want to talk about supreme order and like perfection. We can't do that, but we can tap into the power that does.
Yeah. Amen.
And so, so you haven't wasted time. If you do not give up, you have not wasted time.
That's a good word. I'll take it. I'll receive it.
So I guess lastly, and I know you got to go here,
You're
but you made a comment about your mistake was, basically, if I'm boiling it down, living outside of your strengths. Mm-hmm. For those that are listening, there's some people that are listening that are like, well, I don't know what my strengths are. Yeah. I don't know how to identify them. I don't know. So how did you do that? And how would you tell people, okay, you don't think you have strengths? What would be the way that they can identify their strengths and find out who they are?
Yeah, so I would say there's two ways to start. So
okay.
Those that are listening or watching, that you have relationships in your life. You've got people that care about you, that are close to you, that you care about, right, that are speaking life into you. Man, if you can't identify what your strengths are, you go to those people and you ask them, like, what the heck am I good at, right? Because they're gonna tell you. That's been the case for me, as I've had people on the outside, right, that have come in and be like, oh my gosh, you're incredible with X, Y, Z, right? It's like, I never really thought about it, because you just do it. It just becomes very natural to you. Now, I'm also very sensitive to, like, I understand not everybody has that table, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do in that case? Well, this is something we're really trying to work on, particularly at Warfel, and it's trying to help people understand, like, man, what makes you come to life? Like, what brings you joy, right? Yeah. Like, when you're doing it and you feel alive, what is that one thing, or those two things, or those three things, right? Like, what are they? So for me, like, it looks like this. Like, when I'm out of alignment in my marriage, right? Or, man, when I'm not in sync with my kids, like, life doesn't feel right. So I knew right away, like, my marriage and fatherhood, like, those are two very big things for me in my life that have to be top priorities, right? So I think it's even thinking outside of what you do for a living. That's part of it, right?
Absolutely.
You might not have a job where you're waking up every day, and that might not be, like, what the ultimate purpose is, but it might be a platform to which you can live that out, right? So I think, number one, like, ask those close to you. Number two, like, sit around and think, and you got to quiet the noise. Put the darn phone away for a while, right?
Yeah.
Like, shut the noise off. Go up on a mountain for an hour.
By the way, I turned mine off. It's here for a timer, but
But I think shutting the noise off and understanding and identifying, like, what do you love to do?
Come on.
And start to circle those things and think about it. And I just believe that if you're listening to this and you take some time to do that, like, you'll be honored in that process.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. Well, Garret, I so appreciate you stepping up to the line and having a real and honest conversation with us. And I love to hear what Warfel is doing. And, if you're out there and you're listening to this, it's important to know they're not done yet.
Yeah.
But they're doing it.
Yeah.
And so, and I asked you before you came on air here, I said, well, is Warfel putting their money where their mouth is? Are you able to come talk about it publicly? And you didn't hesitate. And so if you're listening to this and you work with them, or you're a client, or you're someone like that, know that this is who they are. This is the real deal. And if you're a part of that team, man, kudos for you. Like, you're stepping up to the line and you're helping us change an industry, and that is what we are here to be about. And so I'm greatly appreciative of that. And I thank you for giving us the time today to have this conversation.
Hey, man, we love what you're doing here. Appreciate you. Appreciate the invite, and look forward to linking arms together and changing the culture of the industry for sure.
Awesome.